A hero is born among 100, a wise man is found among 1,000, but an accomplished one might not be found even among 100,000 men. A good decision is based on knowledge and not on numbers. Love is a serious mental disease. For a man to conquer himself is the first and noblest of all victories. We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. The empty vessel makes the loudest sound. We are twice armed if we fight with faith. Music is a moral law. It gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and charm and gaiety to life and to everything. Courage is knowing what not to fear. Human behavior flows from three main sources: desire, emotion, and knowledge. One of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. The measure of a man is what he does with power. The beginning is the most important part of the work. Good people do not need laws to tell them to act responsibly, while bad people will find a way around the laws. Opinion is the medium between knowledge and ignorance. There will be no end to the troubles of states or of humanity itself, till philosophers become kings in this world, or till those we now call kings and rulers really and truly become philosophers, and political power and philosophy thus come into the same hands. Science is nothing but perception. Ignorance, the root and stem of all evil. No one is a friend to his friend who does not love in return. The punishment which the wise suffer who refuse to take part in the government is to live under the government of worse men. Attention to health is life's greatest hindrance. This city is what it is because our citizens are what they are. There are three classes of men: lovers of wisdom, lovers of honor, and lovers of gain. Dictatorship naturally arises out of democracy, and the most aggravated form of tyranny and slavery out of the most extreme liberty. Every heart sings a song, incomplete, until another heart whispers back. Those who wish to sing always find a song. At the touch of a lover, everyone becomes a poet, thinking, the talking of the soul with itself. Honesty is for the most part less profitable than dishonesty. People are like dirt. They can either nourish you and help you grow as a person, or they can stunt your growth and make you wilt and die. Let parents bequeath to their children not riches, but the spirit of reverence. Democracy is a charming form of government, full of variety and disorder, and dispensing a sort of equality to equals and unequals alike. The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. To be conquered by yourself is of all things most shameful and vile. There are two things a person should never be angry at: what they can help, and what they cannot. The touch of love. Everyone becomes a poet. The greatest wealth is to live content with little. And what, Socrates, is the food of the soul? Surely, I said, knowledge is the food of the soul. Rhetoric is the art of ruling the minds of men. He who is not a good servant will not be a good master. Nothing in the affairs of men is worthy of great anxiety. Astronomy compels the soul to look upwards and leads us from this world to another. Better a little which is well done than a great deal imperfectly. For good nurture and education implant good constitutions, manner being in search of meaning. The man who makes everything that leads to happiness depends upon himself, and not upon other men, has adopted the very best plan for living happily. This is the man of moderation, the man of manly character and of wisdom. To be sure I must, and therefore I may assume that your silence gives consent. No man should bring children into the world who is unwilling to persevere to the end in their nature and education. Death is not the worst that can happen to men. Twice and thrice over, as they say, Good is it to repeat and review what is good. Justice in the life and conduct of the state is possible only as first it resides in the hearts and souls of the citizens. When men speak ill of thee, live so as nobody may believe them. Democracy passes into despotism. This and no other is the root from which a tyrant springs. When he first appears he is a protector. If a man neglects education, he walks lame to the end of his life. Knowledge becomes evil if the aim be not virtuous. The direction in which education starts a man will determine his future in life. Music is the movement of sound to reach the soul for the education of its virtue. He who commits injustice is ever made more wretched than he who suffers it. He who steals a little steals with the same wish as he who steals much, but with less power. The excessive increase of anything causes a reaction in the opposite direction. When the mind is thinking, it is talking to itself. How can you prove whether at this moment we are sleeping, and all our thoughts are a dream, or whether we are awake, and talking to one another in the waking state? No law or ordinance is mightier than understanding. All men are by nature equal, made all of the same earth by one workman. And however we deceive ourselves, as dear unto God is the poor peasant as the mighty prince. Necessity, the mother of invention. Whatever deceives men seems to produce a magical enchantment. Any man may easily do harm, but not every man can do good to another. All the gold which is under or upon the earth is not enough to give in exchange for virtue. To prefer evil to good is not in human nature. And when a man is compelled to choose one of the evils, no one will choose the greater when he might have the less. I have hardly ever known a mathematician who is capable of reasoning. Entire ignorance is not so terrible or extreme an evil, and is far from being the greatest of all. Too much cleverness and too much learning, accompanied with ill bringing up, are far more fatal. Poetry is nearer to vital truth than history. Nothing can be more absurd than the practice that prevails in our country of men and women not following the same pursuits with all their strengths and with one mind, for thus the state instead of being whole is reduced to half. Knowledge which is acquired under compulsion obtains no hold on the mean. When the tyrant has disposed of foreign enemies by conquest or treaty, and there is nothing more to fear from them, then he is always stirring up some war or other. In order that the people may require a leader, must not all things at the last be swallowed up in death? There's a victory and defeat, the first and best of victories, the lowest and worst of defeats which each man gains or sustains at the hands not of another, but of himself. As the builders say, the larger stones do not lie well without the lesser.